Okay, so we have a forum, we can start our meeting. We need to start with approval of the minutes from August 29th.
I need a pen. I don't have any. Thank you.
Um. Do you need a pen, G? Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
What's the date today?
21st.
21. Most of this is you, Jen.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Okay. Is there a
I'll
second?
second that. I'll
Okay,
second it.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. So, we're gonna move the agenda around a little bit. We've got, Sergeant, I'm sorry,
Oh, Captain Brian Goldman,
I'm sorry,
That's
Captain
okay.
Brian Goldman here from
Assistant,
the Concord Police. And I'm so bad with
Assistant Deputy
names.
Chief Walter Latta.
Deputy Chief Walter Latta, who,
Then we'll have
why
spelling
is your
names.
name not in my book?
Common spelling.
Here to talk with us a little bit about the Concord 250 traffic and parking. I felt like that would be something that the commission would like to hear about and find out what the town is planning. So, take it away.
We're planning a little event next year called the 250th celebration.
Right.
And when I say little, yeah, it's gonna be little. It's gonna probably encompass all of, downtown Concord, is what we're thinking. Based on what we learned in 1975, there was about 130 to 150,000 people that descended on the town for the event. There was a large parade, there was a sitting president at the time that came out to visit. And everything pretty much came to a gridlock and a standstill at that time. We have studied those historical records and we hope we have learned from them how to best proceed with this. Because if 75 was any indication, we're thinking we're gonna get over 200,000 people into the town of Concord.
Do you
for that
think,
day.
I was talking about this with somebody yesterday, because it's not Ford, it's Trump.
Mhm.
Do you think that that will cut into the people who are gonna come?
We don't know. We
I
can't,
know this is a political
Yeah.
question,
Well, and
but I
we don't
also
know
think that
we don't know if he'll come.
that's right, we don't know if it'll come.
right, but there have been other dignitaries that have been invited to this. Just because we don't get the president, we could get the vice president, we could get the secretary of state, there's any number of possibilities.
Yeah, okay,
So the way we have to treat this and look at it is real simple. We have to look at it from the standpoint of worst case scenario.
yeah,
What's that mean? 200,000 plus, we plan for that because once we get into dealing with all this, if we control it right from the beginning, we can always scale it down, but we can't scale it up. And that's what I think they saw in 75. They ran into a problem because they didn't scale it big enough at the time, they scaled it down. We can pull resources back, we can open up roads, but if we have to close them, and then all of a sudden, cars are blocking those roads, it is going to take forever to get them out, and it's just gonna compound all the other issues we potentially could be facing. So that's kind of the way we've treated this from the very, very beginning when we got told what was coming, and that's the plan we've built. If you look at the map that Jesse provided for everyone, you'll see basically three different colors on this map. And one is yellow, one is red, and one is blue. The blue, along with the other white map, is the parade route. I can talk a little bit more about the parade route in a second, but the red indicates what we call hard closures. We do hard closures every year of the parade to keep that parade route contained, to keep it safe, to eliminate the possibility of any accidental problems happening during that time. The yellow is a new theme to this. The yellow is to support the hard closures, meaning any streets coming into, I'll call it downtown Concord, we are controlling. We are not letting vehicular traffic in there if it's not public safety personnel, if it's not buses, or if it's not event participants. That also includes employees that work in the town, as well as, and we've designated some areas for handicap parking as well. So we're taking all that into account, but the general public will not be allowed to get into Concord on that day. That's from a safety perspective. We take that out a little bit further, that supports the hard closures, meaning if we were to just say, okay, so I'll use Walden Street, for instance. There's a hard closure on Walden Street from down, at the end from Main Street, and there's one on Lexington Road. If we let cars come down Walden Street, typically they need to turn around at Haywood Street and go back out Lexington Road. So what we normally see in a very light year is that we get gridlock down there. Picture that with 200,000 people roaming around and all these other things. So this is why we've taken this approach to this without trying to impinge or infringe on anyone here in town, any of the businesses, any of the groups that are gonna be coming. So we have that going for us. We've designated certain parking areas within town for employees, for handicap, for VIPs. We designated a ton of staging areas for our equipment and other resources around town. And we've also designated parking spaces for those that might just want to drive here and come into town, but those are very limited at this point. The good news I can share at this right now, the MBTA has met with us. They're going to do a special event schedule on that Saturday, running trains from Boston to South Acton and back. Those trains, I understand, will accommodate 2,000 people per train.
Wow.
So we will be able to put the message out there, take public transportation, have them come in that way, have them come off that way. And I think that is a huge, huge bonus and help to us for the events. So we don't have to worry about where we're gonna park cars. Little piece on when we're gonna start shutting the roads down, Friday night, 6 o'clock. We're gonna limit access in, with the hope of what we need to push out from the downtown area. To push that out, that gives our public, DPW personnel the opportunity to set up their staging equipment, to set up the roadblocks and everything else we need. And we anticipate being able to open that around maybe 11 o'clock Saturday night. Everything should be fully open. There are a few other events going on that weekend. Typically over that weekend, the tuck truck comes in, that will be going off on Sunday morning, but we don't anticipate having to close any roads or do too much for that at this point. So,
You know, we've also got Easter and Passover.
yeah, and we've also taken that into account as well.
So in addition to what the captain's saying, also, parking lots, Kai's Road, we are gonna be using that as a hub for, first aid station, so that's gonna be getting shut down on Wednesday because we gotta bring in porta potties, light towers, what have you. So you'll see, you know, that being shut down probably on Wednesday, along with Walden Pond, Walden, Street parking lot behind, cause that's one of the locations we're talking about putting the food trucks. So, we've identified a lot of the town-owned parking spots. And then for the people that are working, that have to go to work, obviously, on Friday and Saturday, we're looking at parking them, at Crosby's Market and then let them either walk down, or we can do some type of a golf cart or a small bus to get them to their places. So a lot of thought has been put into this. One of the things that we're trying to avoid is private parking lots, because if we have costs associated with that, it could be a lot of things that, and then you'd have to get a MOU or some type of memorandum of agreement signed and what have you. So, we've identified the town-owned parking lots. We're looking at also putting what they call, cell on wheels, cows. We're trying to get cell towers in, portable cell towers that'll start, hopefully firing up on Tuesday or Wednesday. Right now, the engineers, at MEMA are working on that with these cell carriers. We are looking to get some of those in here, to fix some of the gaps that we know we have with cell reception. But if you have 100,000 people coming in, that's not gonna satisfy everything. However, that is something that we have identified as a critical need is cell coverage, so.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, you must have your hands more full than I can even imagine right
Yes.
now. And so I think the point of our meeting is to try to keep our questions and focus on the relationship of disabled folks relative to 250, because I'm sure you've got a lot of other things to worry about, like protests. we have a really great relationship with the Concord, civil servants. And, I feel like Concord, especially our Concord Police and Fire, they have a lot of knowledge about our disabled community. And it also sounds like you're gonna need a lot of help. There's gonna be other people, other law enforcement and guardians, so to speak, all throughout Concord, because our police force isn't big enough. So is there, I'm just worried about those people who don't know as much about our disabled community here. That's what I'm worried about. I'm just worried about communicating,
Jennifer,
sorry?
what's the word?
I'm worried about, I'm just worried about our disabled community, having the same kind of respect from our guests and as they have from our Concord law enforcement. That's all.
So in this day and age, from a law enforcement perspective, somebody's been doing this a very long time, I can say we're a better trainer, we're better equipped to deal with a multitude of people. We need training, de-escalation, conflict resolution. We
Right.
train to recognize those that are challenged out there, how to best approach them, how to deal with them. And I don't wanna come off as a textbook, but
Right,
when I started this job, we were clueless.
right.
And now today's law enforcement, today's generation has a much, much better understanding of it. Hence, that's why we work with the department clinician, and that's been the
Right.
model across the country.
Right,
So with that, I'm comfortable saying, I think those law enforcement that we bring in
yeah,
will be able to recognize that, help that, and deal with that.
right,
There's also part of this plan, without getting too much into the weeds with it, the people that are gonna be responsible for the downtown areas from the policing side
yeah,
are gonna be more, I can guarantee you, we will have as many of our personnel assigned to the groups that are gonna be down there. They will be supplemented with others from outside, but those will be very high quality trained individuals. So I'm not worried about that. And I just wanna back up 1 second. One of the things we talked about with John Arena from Concord Transportation, we are using our lots here in town, we are using them. We're also gonna resource out the COA vans. So if anybody's gonna park on Walden Street at the courthouse, if we have challenged people over there or challenged over at Crosby's, that is one option for us to get them
Great.
closer to the event. So we're looking at that. And then for the elders that may not want to walk the parade route, we're looking at maybe staging some spaces along. I think we're looking right now at Sudbury Road, right across from the library.
yeah.
Because we've had a couple of requests over there, and I know that came up at the Rotary meeting, and I think that's a good idea, and we can hopefully get some chairs. We can designate that, and it'll be easy to move people in and out of that, and they're coming in by vans, because I know our partners in Lincoln are looking at that as well.
Yeah.
We could potentially bring them right up near the library, stage the van there, and we can get that in and out. We
Nice.
can't do that if we have traffic around here, if we let people kind of free will.
No, absolutely.
What's your sense of the training level sensitivity when you get to like the federal level, if we're talking federal marshals or Secret Service?
I'd like to say, I hope they train that well,
Me too.
but it can be all over the map
I
because of
know.
what they
I
do.
know.
You're dealing with multiple agencies, you're dealing with Homeland Security, you're dealing
It's not
with,
the first
I know
time
the
it's nice.
feeling.
Yeah,
You're dealing with the Drug Enforcement Administration, you're dealing with alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. They all have different responsibilities, so I think that does play into some of their training from somebody that's never done it. I can't say
Yeah.
for certain, but I can tell you from reading certain literatures and publications out there. We are in policing, and not to get off, so it's changing the way we do things. and the way we do things. So I would hope to think at the federal level, it does that. I know at the local level and the state level, it's definitely done that, because we've had to adjust how we go about business, there's no question about it, so. I don't know if that helps answer your question a little bit, I will also say this to the political climate. Say President-elect Trump decides to come here. We deal with the Secret Service, we have other resources that are gonna be staged in place. They are gonna deal with that, they are gonna keep everybody safe and create those buffer zones as needed. So that's where the federal partners come into play on that. As far as everything else, it's really upon us at the local and state levels to deal with.
I have a,
Her hand up too, I
Yeah.
just don't want you to forget.
Meryl,
I, my question is really a comment. I, you mentioned that the MBTA has been very cooperative. I'm a little concerned that anybody with a disability will not be able to exit the train in Concord Center because of the platform issues at the Thoreau Street station. I'm just wondering if there's any way you can get the MBTA to address that. I don't know, myself what could be done, but I think that should be an issue that perhaps you can broach with them.
So that's a great,
That's
that's
a
a
good
great
point.
point. So we have another meeting on the 11th of December with them. We're also gonna be talking about bus transportation that affects the other communities. I will bring that up at that time. I can also tell you one of the plans with the train station in Concord Center is to take that and create, I still haven't found the right word for it, but create lines and barriers so people aren't encroaching, wow, on the platform, so to keep people safe. And that'll also be working with the MBTA police as well. So I will bring that up and see what they say about that and what can be done to assist with that. But they've been very, very willing to come to the table and to meet and to help. So if something can be done, I'm sure they'll do it.
Right? It's been a long-standing issue.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, yeah.
There's no ramp off of the train. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's Concord Center. So if I'm in the disabled community and I'm either in the parade or I have a child in the parade or someone else in my family in the parade and I want to come and I don't live within mobility distance on foot, so to speak, I would probably just want to know where I could get dropped off, because clearly parking is not going to be an option nearby. So are there drop-off zones that have been designated? Are you working on drop-off zones
Drop-off
for
zones?
handicap?
handicap, yes, the placards,
Yeah.
we've had discussions, we're getting there.
Yeah,
The drop-off zones would be if you're coming in, we would recommend parking in one of the off-site lots in
Yeah.
Concord.
yeah,
And then just taking the bus into the drop-off. There'd be three drop-off points. Concord Museum, Main Street, by about Belknap-ish area, right around there, because we still have to turn buses around.
yeah.
And then the third one is gonna be up by the Visitor Center up at the Minuteman National
Oh,
Park.
right.
So that's gonna come in Lowell Road from Carlisle. The issue with that is there will be a point in time where that
Gets closed.
line won't run
Yeah.
because of the parade going down Lowell Road and up Liberty Street.
Right.
Once it passes that, we can open that back up again, but we have to control that. And our folks, our partners, our friends in Carlisle, they have a couple places they're designated for parking as well, so and they're gonna take care of their bus and shuttle service. They will come in the same way.
Right. So,
So to answer your question, if someone's in the parade,
yeah,
we have staging, we have parking places designated for them. That shouldn't be an issue.
right.
If it's someone that's coming in to visit or watch somebody in the parade, I recommend going to the parking.
Yeah, and then taking a shuttle from there, and the shuttles are COA vans, so they're accessible if you're unit
So
there.
it depends, yes, so if it's handicap accessible, we would have that designated, we're looking at Crosby's in the courthouse right now.
Mhm.
If we need to get people further in, we're looking at the COA vans to accomplish that.
Yep.
We probably will still look for some small vehicles to help do that, and we
Mhm.
talked about using what they call ATVs and golf carts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Cause I can't really hear.
Jess, is the meeting being recorded?
Yes,
Oh, okay, good. So.
I think
yes.
it's also being transcribed as well, which I
Oh,
can figure
great.
out how to get the transcription. but-
Which one?
It's
Being
being
transcribed. So that should be a big help.
Cause my hearing aid aren't working and I can't hear a bloody thing.
Oh.
I'm sure you're all talking, but that's what you're saying.
So, yeah, so sort of a little bit off to the side, at Minuteman, we do have a lot of vans.
Mhm.
We've got 41 vans right now.
What did they do on the 19th?
Well, Work something out, but just like you guys, we will need to plan that ahead. So just
So-
keep us in mind, it's a possibility if we can work something out ahead of
Okay,
time.
the biggest thing would probably be drivers.
Mhm.
That's probably the biggest thing that we would need, because I think from talking to John Arena, who Concord Transportation, I think that's one of the concerns.
Mhm.
But it's something I think the next time we meet, maybe I will bring you folks to the table for that. I can say.
Yeah, sure. And I think our preference would be for our staff to
Yep.
drive.
Yes,
And they're
absolutely,
used to driving.
absolutely, absolutely.
And
yes.
I'll bet I could find volunteers for that.
Okay, yeah, and that's gonna be the biggest thing, because that's part of the budget, and the budget is limited for the 250th, so
Mhm.
we have to keep that in mind.
Right.
So what other questions do folks have? I know the parking and the traffic and the road shutdowns, but what else can I answer? Address, help with?
Those of you on Zoom, questions? Louis?
Yeah, this is Lloyd Price. What arrangements are gonna be made for shelter if there's bad weather? What's gonna be possible?
The chief talked to them.
No, great question, sir, because April, we don't know if it's gonna be beautiful sunny, or a nor'easter or what have you. Great question. So right now, we're working on, as I talked about, the memorandum of agreement that we need to get in place so that we could use, like the churches in downtown, the Masonic Hall, all that stuff. In my background that I do on the side as a vendor, so for example, I was just down in North Carolina for 24 days helping out with the recovery and rescue efforts down there. You need to have these agreements in place to use these type of establishments. So we've looked at identifying the downtown area for shelters for weather events. But we also looked at lining buses up on Lowell, just past Liberty. So if we have to move people or shelter people in place, we have that as well. Along with the National Park Visiting Center. And then Fenn School will be a hub for our first responders and what have you. We're working with them right now to open up some of those buildings for shelters for that type of place. So that's what we're working on right now, but we are waiting for the MOU to be signed by the 4 communities so we can use that.
Thank you.
Other questions from anyone on Zoom?
No, I'm good, Gene. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
That's me, that's us, the owl,
Oh,
as
sorry.
logged in as me.
Yeah.
Is that what you were, is that what you were asking?
That's-
The name
that's
is?
us.
That's us, yeah.
Oh, there I am.
Yeah,
there you are.
So I just want to stress this point. If there are questions, if there are concerns, we want to hear about them.
Mhm.
We want this to work for the town, because
Mhm.
we're ultimately here to support the town. We have a duty to make sure everybody's safe. But we want this thing to really be a good time. We want people to enjoy themselves. We want people to come out here and experience it, because that's the most important thing for anybody at the end of the day. We don't want anyone to feel like they can't come or they can't get there because there's too many questions or it's too difficult. We can find a way to make it work. We just need a little notice and a little planning is usually what I refer to it as.
Weather seems to me to be the biggest issue.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
never know.
the last 2 have been fabulous weather,
Yeah.
and we can only, maybe with
I
the
know.
prayers went into that, I don't know,
Right.
whatever it was.
Typically for the disability community, knowing before you go, know before you go is the mantra. You don't want to get out and then find yourself stuck
Yeah.
unexpectedly.
Yep.
And so, when citizens in Concord reach out to us as a commission, they'll say, ask questions like, well, where can I get the information for where I can get dropped off or where I can park or where I can possibly use a restroom, because I imagine that's another whole ball of wax that needs to get sorted out with that many people in town.
I think we're looking at like 350 porta potties.
I believe it, I believe it.
I don't
And
know if
some
that's
of them are
up to
gonna be,
that, but-
some of them will be accessible, but like, so I think it's really just about having, is like, in my fantasy, I have a paper like this and it says, okay, drop off here for drop off only for ADA placards, parking only here for ADA placards, bathroom here for ADA mobility aid users. Like, that's kind of what my fantasy would be, to have a piece of paper that could say, are you using a chair or a mobility device here? Like, do you need, that would be the thing.
Let me throw this idea up, cause I'm thinking of this, right? You've got 41 vans.
Mhm.
What about for those that work with this group, if they were to come here and park? And then be shuttled over using some of those vans?
Mhm.
We can create a drop-off point, either we can create it along one of the shuttle routes at the museum. I know it's still a little bit of a walk in there, but it's something to consider.
Especially considering that the West Concord train station has the platform that you can get off the train.
Yes.
So if you directed everybody here from the get-go and don't confuse or get into the weeds with MBTA, if you get off at West Concord, make this the starting point and be, okay, everybody, yeah, muster here, and then we'll get you over to wherever you
Yeah.
need to go.
Here would be my ask, brainstorm it, put some ideas together. I mean, there is plenty of room out here, obviously, I think, for parking.
Yeah,
But send me
well,
back
there's
an
wheelhouse
email.
parking too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send me back an email and we can start looking at, I think, do you agree? It's not a bad idea if we can build it into the plan.
I think having them park here, and then you can have a police escort right into,
Yeah.
to a nice drop off area.
Mhm.
I have
But it'll
another
be easy.
question.
And,
Uh,
we've
is
got a
there-
building right across the street with
It'd
parking.
be easy enough to do.
So, yeah.
We can either, we can pick which would be the best place to drop off at, whether it be at
We'll
the
get you
visitor
one, hold
center.
on.
I still like the museum, it's
Mhm.
close proximity to anything, but it's open for discussion.
Sure.
It's not like we're adding anything, we're just adding more vehicles that are picking up and dropping off.
Mhm.
I had another question, and that is, will there be any prohibition on the sale of alcohol during the event?
Not in the stores is my understanding, but the town right now is not issuing permits to sell alcohol during the event on town property.
Okay.
No open container.
In the morning?
Now,
I know.
It's gonna be.
Could you imagine?
I get the concern,
Well,
as we've kind of talked about this is a family-friendly event, which I'm hoping wouldn't drag that out. The events later in the day, you might see things like beer gardens and stuff pop up on private property, which is fine. Which we can manage, we're not too concerned about that, and I think that'll be a lesser crowd for that, leading up to the drone show, I'm hoping a significantly lesser crowd. But I don't think that'll be, I don't see that as being an issue for this.
Okay. Anything else, you guys?
You guys are easy.
Well, there's a lot more, but
I
that's
just
just,
hope,
Yeah.
You know,
I hope it was as much fun, the one for 50 years ago, 25 years ago. It was
50.
such a good time.
was it?
It was just, it was, am I the only one who was there?
I was not there.
None of, oh, were any of you guys there?
I didn't grow up around here.
It was just, it was a blast. I can't tell you what fun it was. We had 75 people at our house, 50 that were staying there in tents in the
Oh, my
backyard.
goodness.
My cousins walked. 'cause
I'm taking notes.
My-
50 of them in the backyard.
Well, we-
Oh, my God.
We got permits to have, and I don't know if you're
Mhm.
thinking about this, but at that time, in that time, 25, was it 25 or 50 years ago? Forgot.
50.
It was
50,
probably 50, well, yeah, they
I
say
got it.
50 years ago.
50 years ago, the 200.
We had permits to, whether we could, everybody, each family was given, I live in the yellow zone, was given 25 permit tickets for cars to get in. So we had people coming from Pittsburgh, we had people from all over sleeping in tents in our backyard. My cousins walked from Wilmington, our forebear walked from Wilmington to Concord on the day of the, in 1775. So my cousins walked, started at 5 in the
Oh,
morning and
my.
walked over that day. The whole thing, the day was gorgeous, we had a party all afternoon. It was just one of the best days of my life. It was just great. And I'm
Hopefully this will
hoping-
be another one.
I hope that, the sun was shining, it was just great. There were, what we called then hippie protesters downtown, which was a lot of fun. Upset my mother terribly, those hippies. But it was just, I just hope that this one is the same memory that I have of that one.
I think it'll be a good time. I mean,
The weather, well, the weather held for that, it was a sunny day. We had Gerald Ford, who was new.
Yep.
So that was a big deal.
Right.
And he was excited to be here.
Yeah, we have pictures of him up at the Old North Bridge that we looked at. It's
He
kind
was
of-
happy, it was good.
Yeah. He might have gotten, I think I'll use the word beat up a little bit from some of the protesters, but, figuratively speaking, but, it looks like that part of it was very well managed.
Oh, it
very
was,
well
it
handled.
was,
Mhm.
yeah.
I'm gonna throw one more thing out there, just because it is a concern, in the disability community. And that is what we call disability hate. It comes specifically on the heels of this incoming administration's rhetoric. And it's not political, it's what's happened. And in the ARC community, we talked about this last night, and in the disability community, I worry a lot at the 250 for, I'm gonna get emotional about this, for the abuse that our disability community might be subject to. And there's nothing we can, I mean, we just have to hope that it all goes well and try to be resilient about it. But those buffer zones that you talked about, do you think that that will help tamp down the opportunity for overt hate speech?
If we know there's a protest coming in, that protest more than likely is gonna take place up at the Old North Bridge. This is what we saw in 2018 when we had the Proud Boys in there. We
Right.
will have designated, and we're having discussions how we wanna proceed without hinging too much on the crowd size up there. But more than likely, because of the First Amendment zones up there, we will probably block off space. So that would contain that.
Contain it, yeah.
As far as the crowds go and that sort of thing, random things, I wish I could say we can control it and a few other
I
things that I won't say
know,
also.
I know.
But what I would suggest is this, given the amount of law enforcement personnel we are gonna have here and first responders, if someone experiences something, I think the message that could best be sent back is to find someone who's wearing a uniform, let them know.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, they'll at least feel safe.
Right.
And I think that's the most important message.
Agreed.
If we can identify somebody, we're more than happy to have conversations with people.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be anything more than that, a conversation, but it's just sometimes it's nice to enlighten people and say, hey, you're not being nice. Time to be a better human being. And I think that's that to me is the most important message we can send. I would also say if there's angst or anxiety from members of the community, if they partnered up with anybody, any volunteers, I think that's a good idea too, given the crowd sizes. I think there's a lot of anxiety, I think, over how big this thing is gonna be and how overwhelmed people are gonna feel from
right.
all walks of life. And like I said, we're here to support the community, we're here to support the event. And the message we wanna get out there is we want people to have that good time from 1975. We just want it to be, we want people to be good to each other. And that's very, very hard to do. But
I know. Okay, thank you.
I just have one other question, about, I don't have access to the map. So I was just sort of curious to know, whether you're anticipating any traffic problems on Route 2, entering Concord from the east or west, whether there's any way to anticipate how to control that traffic issue.
Oh, we're fully prepared for that one with our partners with the state police. Route 2 is gonna be, if you've ever seen photos or been down to Foxborough during a football game or a concert, they eliminate the left turns down there. We are doing the same thing for Route 2 here in Concord. We are gonna make it, in order to avoid any type of gridlock, we are gonna shut that down. We're also gonna shut down on the other side of, Route 2 on the westbound side. Every entrance in the Concord on that side is gonna be a control point, meaning no one's gonna get in unless it's a bus, they're public safety, or they're part of the parade, event participants, that sort of thing. That's it. No vehicular traffic will be allowed in. 128, 95 is gonna be blocked off at exit 40, it's either 46 or 42. Getting on the Route 2A, that's gonna be shut down. And Route 2A is gonna be shut down, buses only, and public safety personnel.
Right.
So when I use the term lockdown, and I've used it with a few people, we're locking this place down. And it just seems to make the most sense, and I think it's gonna allow us to really kind of manage things better.
Thank you.
May I ask one more question
Absolutely.
about bicycles? I know, like, thinking of Mary Beth, there are some folks who may choose to use, instead of a wheelchair, but because they have to go farther, like, say from the museum, that they might choose to use a recumbent bike or a bicycle. And there might be lots of folks who live nearby but don't wanna get in a car for sure. Will there be restrictions for how bicycles are
They
used?
can't ride in the parade, that's about it.
Oh, okay, good.
So they can't just jump in the parade,
no.
ride along with the.
Yeah, right.
No restrictions other than similar to just being respectful of
respectful.
pedestrians
Great.
and careful for that. And we actually had another conversation come up about if we're gonna have any place to secure
Park
bikes, and park
bikes.
bikes, so.
Yeah.
We have to we've talked about it, we gotta take a bigger look at that, just in terms of where maybe we wanna lay it.
There might be a lot of bikes.
I would anticipate it, we're hearing a lot, they might come in on the rail trail coming out of Cambridge.
Mhm.
They might come in some
Sudbury?
areas, yeah.
Come down from Sudbury and
Yeah.
on the rail trail now, yeah.
Yeah, and
And
that's fine.
Chelmsford.
All good.
Be nice if your
Yeah.
hands full. That'll do it. When I think about how much stuff you have to deal with.
But yeah,
Okay.
we've taken that into account. We
Great.
just have to fine tune that.
Great, awesome.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I think
thank
we're
you.
gonna get you out right at the point
Perfect.
you needed to
I
go.
never got his name.
Oh, Walter.
Mayor
Walter
Lotta,
Lotta.
Walter Lotta,
Thank you. Yes.
I'll send you something.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
so I need cash only, I assume.
I'll-
Wow, $2 lunch.
Right.
Only 21.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much, all.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Happy
yes,
Thanksgiving.
Best holiday.
Any questions? And I think that's a good idea to maybe use this as a plan and we can work more on it going forward.
Yes,
I think that's-
Oh, I got you.
The clarity is the key. And when everyone has the same message and they can be clear, especially knowing before you go, that would make it really easy.
Yeah, we have some more presentations to do.
And we can also work on maybe mapping out where like the restrooms are gonna be.
That would be
different
really
stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation we can have. It's
Eventually.
It draws closer.
Yeah,
That doesn't need to be in our plans, but I think
Right.
if we plan on doing something here, we quite specific.
So Kai's Road is gonna be the hub, like Kai's Road, we plan on making like the hand wash stations,
Oh.
water potty, like that's why it's gonna be all shut down, you're gonna probably see them coming
Yeah.
on Wednesday or Thursday.
yeah,
First aid station, porta potties all lined up in both Kai's Road parking lots.
yep.
That's
Awesome.
that's
Good
one of
to
our
know.
goals.
And we're gonna have food trucks everywhere, and when my phone was ringing, that was the health director who was trying to get a hold of me, because we're having that conversation about food trucks, so we're really trying to ramp this thing up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank
Then
you
you
very
guys-
much.
Sorry, I'm out of business cards, but you know how to, you know how to.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Meryl, also, once you have a chance to check your email, I did send, on everybody's emails, the maps too, so you can poke
Oh,
through that. And I'm
I
sure
will.
if you have more questions or whatever, we'll get you in touch with,
Thank
whoever.
you. I appreciate it.
That's Jess Porter. See?
I'll get you my card. I'm actually getting ready.
So the parade route is in green.
The green.
Mhm.
Is the.
It's also
Maybe
in
the
blue.
in the town manager.
It's the same.
Okay.
It looks,
All right.
doesn't look the same, but it is the same.
Okay, all right.
Oh, but she-
So this road here, like right here,
Yes.
is this
It's
road
been a
right
while
here.
now. We haven't been
And
there
this
a
little
while.
blue bit, I think it's Liberty, that's this piece right
That's fine,
here.
I
Yep,
get-
you got it,
okay,
and then
then-
this dash
of
piece
course,
is where I
okay.
think the turnaround.
I didn't
Okay.
recognize
Bus
you,
turnaround.
sorry.
So,
That's okay, it's been a while and you guys
This
had
down
a
here is the road.
fluctuation.
Here's the
You had
train.
Megan
Oh,
for a
my
while,
goodness,
and
yeah.
then-
Our constant Concord.
You guys are stuck with me now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Lloyd, you had a question there?
Starbucks.
Yeah,
Farm.
before we get into hiatus,
Okay.
I had raised a question having to do with if the commission makes a recommendation, does that create some sort of obligation for the town to consider it in a particular way in a formal sort of way? And what are the implications legally for the town if one of its commissions makes a recommendation that is not acted on? And there was someone who was going to look into that, but I know we had a hiatus. I don't know if we have more information on that. If we don't, and there's an appropriate person for me to contact about that, I'd be glad to do it.
Yeah, I know, I didn't do any follow-up on that, that was probably on me. So Lloyd, it's Jess, if you wanna send that over to me, I will definitely tackle that before our next meeting.
All right, I'm not sure I have your email.
I just sent you the maps electronically, if you were on, let me just make sure you're on that distribution, I sent it all to, and then you'll have me.
Yeah, he should be.
Think so. Yes, I sent you a message actually at 4:57, Lloyd, so you
Okay.
should have that, the L Price MD
Yep,
address.
that's
Okay.
me. And that
All
doesn't
right.
violate any aspect of the open meeting law if I send this communication to you?
No, individual members can send questions and talk,
Okay.
that's fine.
Thank
So I'm
you.
technically not a voting member either, so.
Okay,
Okay,
I think that the MOD, the Massachusetts Office on Disability, we get, is it Brian Donahue? The person who's in charge of
yeah.
MOD.
Yeah.
He would be the person to talk to about the role of commissions on disability and their relationship to government, local government, sort of, responsibility. Find his name and I'll send it to you, Jeff. But he
Yeah.
would be the person who could answer that question like in a heartbeat.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to our agenda. We have a couple of things around physical accessibility at the townhouse and hearing accessibility at the townhouse. And, Bob Andrews, I know you were the person who brought those forward a couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago now. So now that we're meeting again, we can talk about that. Do you want to share with us the concerns? You're muted, Bob.
Okay,
Yeah, we
You
can
can-
hear you.
Good,
hear and see me?
yes.
Well, it's been a long time since I submitted some comments to the commission about, an experience that I had going to a hearing at the townhouse. What I wrote at the time probably is much more articulate than I can be after this passage of time. I don't know whether people have had a chance to read it, but I will try to recapitulate briefly. What I said had to do with both physical mobility, accessibility, and hearing accessibility. Finding our way into the building, given that I was pushing my wife in a wheelchair, was an adventure. I never knew that there was a special door on the side of the building, for handicapped access until that evening. And I don't remember how I found it, but I don't think it was because there was some very clear sign out front saying, to go there. But anyway, I did go there, and then I got inside, pushing Bernie in the wheelchair, and there was this elevator. And it was a really weird experience using that elevator because it was not a conventional elevator. In fact, it was like a half an elevator. You stood up and you had no roof over your head. And then you pushed the buttons to go up to the next level, and it didn't move unless it moved a little bit, and then it stopped. And I discovered, that it stopped because I took my finger off the button. Well, you don't ordinarily have to keep your finger on a button on an elevator in order to keep moving, but that was the situation. And there wasn't anybody there, anybody around, to know that we were on the elevator if I hadn't figured out how to make it get up to the next level. Then we got up there and, we had to traverse the hall to the second elevator, which was a normal elevator with normal buttons. And that was okay. It would have been good if there'd been some signage there to point us as people with an access problem in the right direction. But we found it, and we got up to the hearing room, and the experience became one where I was just had a very difficult time hearing anything in a hearing. It was a hearing, and I couldn't hear, and it wasn't, I think, because there wasn't some good equipment, reasonably good equipment in the room. They had assistive listening devices, and somebody handed them to me, pleasantly enough, and promptly enough. But it just wasn't much of any help using it. The acoustics in the room were so awful. I'm not sure that that's news to anybody. It was really extremely frustrating for somebody with hearing loss. My hearing loss is not getting any better. So that's about the size of it. I think that that there's a very substantial need, for there to be an assessment of the acoustics by a an acoustics engineer, and an assessment of the the space by a sound engineer. The sound is bouncing around in the walls, without being, absorbed. It echoes, and in addition, when you get the sound system operating, it's not at all clear that the microphones are the best microphones, or that if they are pretty good microphones, that they're in the right position, the position of the loudspeakers. It'd be another issue. You can't just plunk down the equipment with an assistive listening device and think that people are going to be able to hear. That's my piece.
Could I just respond to the elevator situation? I was just in the townhouse today, and yes, the signage outside should be perhaps improved, maybe in the, I don't know where, but a sign with an arrow to the accessible entrance. I don't know if that exists, but I do know that the signage has been improved of how to operate the little elevator, which is, from my experience, a fairly standard type of elevator for small spaces and buildings. So with good signage, I think, the mobility part can be, really pretty much taken care of. I did not have a trouble as I had, some time ago with the elevator. So once you get used to, what you're supposed to do, it's not so bad. I'm
May
afraid
I-
I have to leave soon too. I have to, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Peter, you have
May I
your hand up?
respond?
Go ahead,
Well,
Bob, you
Peter
go.
has his hand up. Let's hear what Peter.
Well, Bob,
has
you
to
know what
say.
I'm gonna say. Bob and I are working on a project at First Parish to try to address disability concerns there. And I think, Bob, what you're describing in the use of that lift and the signage is, the generic response to the disabled community tends to come from sort of following the letter of the ADA, but not the spirit of it. So I think having an acoustical engineer and or a signage consultant, signage and wayfinding consultant, evaluate these places from our perspective is what's needed, not from the sort of, well-meaning but generic able-bodied perspective, because obviously you're the audience, right? You're the one that needs to get through these things and get up to and use the equipment. So I'm just reinforcing, and I'm sorry you had that experience, but I think it reinforces the need for better evaluation and input. That's it. Thank you. Bob, what were you going to say?
Well, I'm not sure, but Jessica Porter is here, am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yes,
Um,
hi.
Maybe you can comment on this. I do believe that there was some response from you or one of the town officials after I originally wrote my comments on that experience.
Yes.
And that you said you were doing some things.
Yeah, so definitely there was signage. It was tiny, but there was signage on the outside. But as Meryl indicated, and as you alluded to, once you're actually on the elevator, there wasn't additional signs to say you have to hold that button. And like Bob was saying, if you get on there and you forget to hold or don't know to hold, you're gonna get stopped. There's not an emergency phone type thing, the way you have like in a regular standard elevator. So we do have extra signs there now. It's still not, the greatest setup, but that's the only way to have handicap accessibility into that building. It's just an old building, so it's literally, 4 steps up for those of you that maybe haven't seen it or been in there. In terms of the signage though, I do agree. I've often mused as I pulled into one of those spots in the front. All there is, I believe, is a blue handicap sign with an arrow that's just kind of tacked on to one of the metal railings going up the main front stairs, so it's not the best.
And that sign directs you to the driveway.
Right.
Yeah.
I got there today and there was an oil tank truck coming down the driveway with a car in front of it and a car behind it.
Yeah,
So we're not even
it's not a safe.
it's not only not safe, it's absolutely not even close to being compliant. I mean, even before you get to the elevator, it was a nightmare. I'm not even sure if I actually got there right after you, Meryl, today to get sworn in. And I thought if I was in a chair, I wouldn't have been able to get here because of the traffic coming out of the parking lot behind Townhouse. So, I don't know, I agreed. Historic buildings are really hard, and I think it's very easy to point to that and say, oh, sorry, can't do anything about it, it's historic. In some cases that's true, in some cases it's not. It's hard to parse out what's what. I do think that when it's too difficult to make the physical meet people, I think then what we do is we move the program to a location where people can meet it more easily. And so today, for example, swearing in, if that was too hard, I feel like that maybe should have been something that could be done elsewhere or over Zoom.
Yeah.
So as an option, so I think there's more than one way to get at it. And putting a square peg through a round hole isn't always the best way to do it.
I had the very same
Meetings, but
thought.
people that just wanna come into town,
Right.
it might not even be that they have an appointment for a swearing in or they wanna go to a meeting. It's like somebody just wants to come into town hall. It's not
Yeah,
ideal.
it's impossible, yeah.
The other thing too that I know is still, I feel like I'm getting an echo from somebody. I'm just gonna mute a few people here just in case that's where it's coming from. The other thing that I've noticed, or that's an issue that's on our radar, but we don't have a plan for yet, is the other accessibility pieces. If you want to go into where the town clerk's area is, there's not a push door, right? And that, I don't know why when they did all that over down there, that wasn't part of it. And I guess it's not a simple fix. I do know, I saw the other day, they had, you know, they were wedging the door open, but I'll share this because Walter left now, but they're technically not
Oh,
supposed
Supposed
to
to leave
be.
the door open,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
Um,
he
so
would not be happy.
they're getting around as long as nobody from fire sees it. That's been kind of the fix. It's just a prop it open, but that's not
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
ideal.
So
That's
it-
the other kind of.
Yeah, a doorbell.
Yeah,
That would
Everybody
work
knows
too.
that way.
Yeah, that would work too.
Okay.
And then
Bye.
somebody can go and.
Bye.
It's coming from up.
Yeah, he's got a house full. So, anywho, that was my, thing, but yes, I happened to be over there, I think the next day after Bob reached out, I was like, I have to go check this out myself, and yeah. Luckily, we had some signage up, because the label on the elevator, it's like this tiny little,
Yeah.
you need these, or it's like, so even then, like.
It's
we had-
scary.
Yeah, it's very tiny, so, anyway.
So could you maybe for the next meeting, just check and see what the town has sort of tried to implement or is willing to implement in terms of better hearing access in the townhouse?
Yep.
That would be really helpful.
And I know that there's been work, I'm not sure entirely where it's at now, but there's been ongoing discussions as well about similar, hearing assisted stuff over at Council on Aging. And I know that Bob is very involved with the hearing support group and leading those efforts and working with Dan. So we're really trying to get that, everywhere, which of course they have the big room over there too. So if we can at
Right.
least get one room that's sizable, that can hold a big meeting
Mhm.
where people can hear, that's progress too.
Right.
Right.
And
for
there's
sure.
better parking here than at the townhouse, if you're having.
That's
a big
for
meeting.
sure.
Way better parking and access to getting in and out of the building is a lot
Right.
easier.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Although I noticed, I wanna make sure it's clear, did you have trouble getting up the ramp with the leaves?
Yes.
They keep blowing
Yes.
there, I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I don't-
it looks like they took all the leaves and dumped them on the ramp.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's
And
a
that
wind
was
tunnel.
over at the other building ones, I remember after a snowstorm, they had dumped all the snow on the ramp and they.
Oh,
It's the wind, it's the wind right there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tunnel, we get them, they hole up right in front of our garage, it's like the pocket, the wind blows, it's like we have to rake them every morning, and they all will come in the garage, so, but yeah, I thought of that, I mean, another wet.
It was, I don't know how Merrill would have gotten through, I could get through it okay with this and with Jessica helping me, Jennifer helped me.
No worries.
Jessica.
Yeah.
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Jessica.
Jessica's over there,
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Like me, you
I know.
probably answer to both. of
I
them,
do,
so, you know,
whatever.
It's just
That's
easier.
exactly right. Exactly right.
all right. So, a little bit of this is TBD. And we can see where things stand at the next meeting. And
Something that might, I don't know
Yeah.
if the town has a very clear picture of what the physical accessibility requires. Like, I don't, does everyone know what it's like for Bob to push his wife in a wheelchair when he shows up and like gets out of the car, where he has to park, where he has to walk,
Yeah.
where he has, I don't know if that's clear to everyone.
No, and I've heard from others, like, unless you had to do it.
It's-
and
you
have
don't really
experience, you
know.
don't know.
And so-
Yeah.
Are you talking about just the townhouse or?
I'm talking right now just about
Just
about the
getting in.
townhouse,
Just-
just about the townhouse, and so I feel like either a little video or a little map and a video would be really helpful, to just make sure that our select board knows that when they have meetings and and if you need to use that door, this is what
Exactly.
people have to go through to get in the building. It might be really helpful just to, it's, like you said, Jessica, it's, like, unless you had to do it, it's not on your radar. It wouldn't be on your radar. You just wouldn't pay attention to it. Yeah.
Oh, I broke my leg skiing and now.
Now I have to come in this door.
I think,
Bob and
may I,
Bernie can be our models for the video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
may I speak briefly?
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said earlier, that as far as that entrance is concerned, that, they got used to it and that it's not that unusual. But I don't want to have to get used to something like that. I could you know, be stuck in an elevator this time, and maybe I'd learn not to be stuck in the elevator the next time. But being stuck in the elevator anytime is more than I care to encounter when I go to a meeting at the townhouse. Thank
That's,
you.
that's well said. And in fact, I'm very aware that there is no handicapped parking available on the same level as the entrance, for instance. There's no designated space, and sure enough, once,
Nope.
No.
No,
It's in
there's
front.
not-
Oh,
there
there
isn't.
isn't.
only in front
and, and in
There's not even
fact,
designated.
the,
Oh, there isn't.
Yeah, there's
one
actually nothing in the
space-
front either. There's an open spot, but there's no handicap right in front either.
right, there,
Right.
there's one space next to the insurance building, but which
Mhm.
was
Oh, yeah,
filled.
that's it.
And I anticipated that, so I had to have someone drive me to the townhouse so that I could get out. We did end up by parking in those two designated for town officials space.
That's what I do, yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, luckily, my husband, was live parking in the car while I went in. But you're right, Bob, you shouldn't have to just get used to the existing problems and work your way around it. It should be accessible, and it isn't really, it wasn't really for me today. I had to, work my way around it.
Would it help if they just changed one of those designated for town official spots to a handicap spot?
That would be very useful if.
I mean, I would think,
Yeah.
Jessica, can you pass that on?
Yeah, absolutely, because I never, see, again, unless you're living it, you don't think about it. I didn't
Absolutely.
even realize there's not a single handicap spot on the street.
There's
Or
not,
not
there's not
parking.
one that's near the handicap
No.
entrance, so that makes no sense.
And
Right.
there's no crosswalk either,
And
so it's
there's
not
no
like you can play, it's not, you
crosswalk,
can't
right,
park
right.
on the other side of the street and then just scooch over.
Mhm.
Yeah, I looked for it today and it wasn't there.
Yeah, I'm gonna add that to my notes.
And you probably don't
Okay.
need more than one.
No, you don't need more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just took one of those privileged people
Yeah.
away and
Right.
made it for the
Park elsewhere.
ordinary people.
Mhm.
Take Jessica's spot away. You get her-
That's a problem.
I get plenty of parking, my office is out here, so.
nice.
Oh.
Yeah. This is the cool end of town here.
Okay. Well, thank you. And, again, more to come on this. We can talk a little more about it at the next meeting. And we'll find out if the town is gonna switch one of those spots to a handicap spot.
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
make things more accessible, make them more obvious as well. We're gonna skip over accessibility plan for Concord for tonight.
Thanks for inviting me, and good night.
Bye, Bob.
Good night,
Bye,
Bob.
Bob. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob.
Town meeting study committee, reached out to me a couple months ago just to say, are there other things we can do to make town meeting better, more accessible? And, I met a little bit, but I told them I would put it on the agenda to get some feedback from members about what other kinds of things could make town meeting more accessible for people. So any thoughts? Do you want to ponder it and leave it on for next meeting?
Remote access,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Peter.
remote access. Sorry, I'm just,
That-
Right,
yeah.
right,
And
here I am
yes,
on Zoom.
definitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
remote access is, there's, I have such a beef with that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
What
they're-
has been
they
pro-
are thinking about that.
right.
Yeah.
No, I just wondered if we knew, because I haven't been following it, what has been proposed that would be.
I don't
relevant
know
to
at this
us?
point, because
Okay,
it was a
okay.
couple months ago
Yeah.
that they reached out, but I can reach back out to them and I can bring people.
If there's
up to
some
date at the
summary
next
of what
meeting. Yeah,
they've been
right.
discussing to this point.
Is town meeting less accessible than the school? What is the issue with town meeting? I haven't gone for a long time.
So can I
Yeah,
give
you
a
can.
response? So for example, I have a disabled son.
Yeah,
There is no one on earth besides people who are already trained to look after him that I can leave him with so that I can attend town meeting and vote.
Mhm.
I miss town meeting unless I have someone to look after him at home. The solution that the town has for parents of all kids, not disabled and neurotypical, is that there are some childcare services on site so that parents can come, they can leave their child in the care of and go vote and listen to town. We all know that town meeting can last for many hours if you truly want to participate. The format of town meeting is not friendly to parents with small children, and it is definitely not friendly to anyone who is looking after a loved one at home, and that you can't outsource care for. So that would include children, parents, spouses. If you're caring for someone, if you're a care provider, it's very difficult to leave the house at night for hours at a time without having care on deck. That might have been something that was more standard 25 or 35 or 50 years ago. But right now it is, I'll speak for myself, it is very difficult to find care providers, let alone one-off care providers for this one night here or this one afternoon here. It's very, very difficult. There just aren't very many humans out there who are doing this work.
How do you do about that?
I would have them create a remote access.
Mhm.
What
Oh,
Peter just
yeah.
said, remote
So
access,
you can access from your
Okay.
home or
Okay.
wherever.
and can
you are.
participate.
Zoom in.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And
But then, wouldn't that cause everybody, I mean, would you need an excuse to do that? Would you need a letter from your mother saying?
Available to anyone.
No, it should be.
Because then,
Yeah.
hey, I'd go to town meeting, but there's no reason why I can't go now, I just am too lazy. Wouldn't that just keep everybody? I mean, I went for 50 years, that's, I figure I would put in my time, but wouldn't that cause people to not go to town meeting?
I think
So-
you see something similar to like tonight. Some
Exactly.
people are here,
Yeah.
some people are online.
Definitely.
And
You
Gene,
know,
if I may, sorry, I
Yes.
just put in the chat the link to the town meeting study committee webpage on our town website. And I'm looking at their last minutes, their last meeting was November 12th. It was this last week. So they're discussing electronic voting, remote voting. They're discussing all these things now. So it's an ongoing, there's no report yet.
Okay,
Thank you. That's good to know.
okay. Good, thank you. So I could reach back out to them and just say the commission strongly supports, remote meetings, remote voting, so that everyone can participate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing nods,
Definitely,
yes, okay, I will do that.
I'm afraid I have
Um,
to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's
Bye,
all right,
Meryl.
Meryl.
Thank you.
Bye, Meryl.
No,
Yeah.
this is morning. So, Sharon Spalding, who is a local property owner, sent me some info about a ramp that she is proposing to build, at 9 Walden Street. And it's been designed, it's ADA accessible.
Nice.
And, yeah, I think she's trying to do a good job of this.
9 Walden,
It's a
Comina?
retail,
It's a
Comina,
retail.
it's a house furnishings and
oh,
decor
yeah,
store.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's really nice. She's nice.
Yeah.
yeah, really, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
this is just a point of interest for people. She sent this, just wanting the commission to know that she's working on this. And, I spoke with her about it today because it had been, she sent me this, I think, in July. And, she said that, she is hoping to take this before the Historic District Commission sometime in the next couple of months. And, hoping for approval from them so that this ramp can be installed once the weather improves in March, so that it's ready for the 250th.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's her plan, and I asked if she needed any assistance from us. She said at the point when they go to the HDC, that if the commission were willing to sort of stand behind her and say, yes, this is, it's accessible, it meets the ADA standards, design standards, and, HDC, you really need to approve this ramp.
What's her name?
Sharon Spalding.
So
I know.
is she doing this, this was her idea to, and
Yeah, I think she wanted to make the building more accessible.
I think it might be inspirational for other businesses, you
Yeah,
know, if she
yeah.
starts it, and especially
Yeah.
this kind of.
What are the
Um,
ones
retail.
across the street? Like, what is irresistibles? Is that?
Aren't there stairs, like a step or two? I don't know.
Well, the candy shop,
You know.
That is a
Yeah.
step.
Hmm?
That is a step.
oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah,
And
Oh, really?
there is an accessible entrance next to, in between the candy shop and Cafe Nero.
No, not Kevin.
But last we looked at that, you could get into the hallway, but then
Doors.
they were storing product right by the door going in, so you couldn't
What are you
really
talking
get
about
in.
now?
she's talking about
Candy
Graham.
store.
No,
The candy
Graham.
store, okay.
Graham.
But Cafe Nero that I've been complaining
Yeah, that's
about
right.
forever,
Same
Last-
hallway.
Same,
they have a handicap door
yeah.
and it's locked. Okay.
Yep.
Last Sunday I went, I always have to go with somebody who has to run around and open the door. Last Sunday they had a little rock in there, so they had it open.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
something happened that
Left
we
it.
got to them.
Mhm.
okay.
I was very pleased and
This would be great.
So she's just looking for our support,
Yeah.
when
And
when
when
it
she
comes.
goes to HDC, yes.
Yeah, cause
I
I
asked her
would
to
be
make it
very
granite.
interested to hear. how
Mhm.
I can't imagine concrete's gonna fly, but
I know,
we'll see.
exactly.
We'll want granite, a granite
Granite, yes.
slope, but if that, even then,
Do you know if they have an
Either way.
architect, Gene? Do they have an architect that this?
Yes,
Yes.
Colin Smith,
Okay. I don't know.
and yeah,
Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, that's lovely.
oh, that's
it
the,
works really well.
Yeah,
that's our robot. I didn't know that.
It's, it says it's
Yeah.
8.33%, and it,
Mhm.
you know, from here
yeah,
all the way up to the door,
Mhm.
so
that would be.
it
really
would,
helpful.
yeah, it would be really great.
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah, agreed.
Good. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I hope more
Yeah.
people take that and run with it.
Yes.
Me too, me
Mhm.
too. Yeah, I mean, she just decided she wanted it
That's
accessible.
great, that's.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe the tenant was pushing for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Who owns that property? Because
The property owner is Sharon Spalding,
she owns,
not the business, she owns the building,
she owns the building.
right?
Okay,
Yeah, she owns a fair
So-
amount of commercial.
so that she may do
real
other,
estate.
Yeah,
she may
Yes.
do others.
Yeah,
That's
that
great.
would-
I thought that she owned the shop.
No, she
Yeah.
does not.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens across the street.
Mhm.
That's interesting.
start this domino effect.
Yeah,
there.
really.
Right, that would be
Yeah.
great.
And actually, Nero, which I complain about all the time, they are making an effort. I mean, if they had somebody's gotten to them.
Want to get open. a little
I hope
bit,
it was
yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And put a brick in the door. It's
Mhm.
great. That's all it takes. All I need is to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Transportation
Action committee.
Action Committee, Access
Advisory,
Committee,
isn't it?
TAC, they are still having discussions around signage for the park. Along, you know, to where the bike lane goes through Junction Park. And, they had about an hour-long discussion at their last meeting and didn't really come to any sort of decision about what they wanted to do, but they're still carrying the gauntlet on this one.
Not our circus right now.
No,
No, not right now. And then search for a new member. So Mary Beth has resigned, Bob resigned, and we certainly can add a couple of new members. There are some green cards. There are about 6 green cards. Is there someone who would like to review green cards with me and maybe reach out, talk with some of these people to see if they're still interested? Because sometimes people will fill out a green card and then by the time someone contacts them, they're like, oh, no, I forget it. I joined another committee or no longer interested or whatever.
How many people
So-
do we need? One, just to fill Mary
We
Beth?
can
I think
add
Uh,
we need
more than
2.
one.
Two,
we- yeah.
who was the other one?
Bob,
Oh, Bob, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Peter was, okay.
yeah, so, anybody interested in reading green
I
cards?
can do that, it would be
Okay,
easy.
All right, great, thank you, Janet. And then just another miscellaneous thing, I got an email and then a phone call today from a reporter from the Concord Bridge about the high school field amenities building and what we thought about it, and I said, you know, we were informed about it 8 months ago, maybe longer. I told him I hadn't really kept in touch with any of that. He said the new design has reduced the number of toilets from 40 to 17. And, you know, he kind of wanted to know, did we think of an amenities building was a good idea? And what I told him was, I think anytime you can replace a porta potty with flush toilets and running water to wash your hands, that's always a good idea. So I don't know what he's, you know, gonna put in the Concord Bridge. But he also said if there were issues that we were concerned about, to reach back out to him. So we've got kind of a connection now at the bridge. His name is Dakota. I forget his last name.
Well, thanks for carrying the flag for us, Gene.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a whole lot I could say one way or another, because it's been so long. We're not up to date on what's going on with the amenities building. So next meeting,
Now that we have our ducks in a row.
yes, mostly around, yeah. We still have to figure out Peter. So would we want to meet, if we met like the second Tuesday in December, that would be 3 weeks from now. I kind of feel like if we go any later in the month, it's gonna be,
yeah.
you know, just into Christmas stuff and then Hanukkah stuff and then Kwanzaa stuff, and it'll be January.
It's amazing when you put it that way, how fast
Yeah,
it's gonna
yeah,
go.
well,
So that's the 19th.
I'm thinking the 12th.
Oh, I actually have it on for that night anyway, that must have been when we must have had
Yeah.
it on the second
Yeah,
Thursday.
yeah,
right,
for a while.
right.
It was, yeah.
Will the 12th work for people?
Mhm.
Yep.
December 12th. Do you like doing this hybrid meeting so people can come here if you want?
I'm not
or-
supposed to drive out in the dark, and I realized that when I was halfway here.
Oh, no.
No,
Oh, well,
and all that really
we have
means
a
is that you
Zoom.
aren't allowed to hit anybody if you're driving. in the
Oh.
dark. You can drive in the dark, but you can't hit anybody.
Don't hit anybody on the way.
Or
home.
anything.
Or, yeah.
Or anything,
Right.
right. But I was nervous, I have to say,
Oh,
when
yeah,
I was
yeah.
realized that I wasn't supposed to be driving. So I would rather do I would rather do it at home, be it at
Yeah,
home.
well, if we do hybrid like this, people can have a choice. of
But I
what-
like
what-
coming, so.
You don't
Yeah.
get the candy if you don't come in person. Thank you,
Right,
Jean.
right.
I didn't hear what Jessica
She
said.
said you don't get candy if you don't come in person.
Oh, yeah, right. And look, and I get there, I'm gonna take those before anybody else.
Definitely should, definitely
Grab
should.
'em, yeah.
And look at all, look at all, Karen, I got piled up.
I'll
So,
save you some.
No, that's no.
all right,
fair,
so
no.
December 12th, 5 o'clock, hybrid,
And here, and
Yeah, this
Here,
is
and
great.
can-
this
can
is
you
nice. space.
set that up for us
Of course.
and a Zoom link? Okay,
And did you
Alright.
say that this was being,
I
Transcribed.
believe there's a transcription of it as well. I gotta figure out how to get it, but I'll definitely send that around.
I'm sorry, what is it?
I believe there's a transcription as well.
That'll be great,
I'll
cause
figure out how
my
to get it and
handwriting
send it
is
to
terrible
you.
and I miss most of it.
That's what we need to know. Transcription.
Mm.
For feature.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
all right.
And you will send it, you'll let me know?
Yes.
Great.
are we adjourned?
I think we
Oh,
need a
yes,
motion.
I think we're adjourned.